did that change anything on the commission side with the seller, or did you keep it at whatever percentage you had agreed with before?
So when it comes to commission questions, I'll probably just say it's just negotiable between all my clients.
Gotcha.
That's smart.
Diplomatic.
The broker in me my red light was going woo right away. I was like, careful you answer this. That was perfect. That was awesome.
I love asking those questions though, because, I think about the people who are listening and like, they're like, oh, I want to do that. But like, I feel like this is their chance to get the real life examples, but I totally understand the diplomatic side of it as well. So cool.
Yeah, in our MLS, you have to disclose. I think it's national, but you have to disclose variable commission rate. So you have to say, hey, if we represent on our side, we'll reduce that commission. And I will not point any fingers or say any names. But I do know of agents that may or may not have flirted with that line, and I would not touch that personally. You got to be super careful with it. So you have to be transparent up front, right?
Yep, that's what we have to put that in our MLS as well. And that's really my biggest thing, is just being open, being transparent with my clients and other agents. That's how you avoid problems, is you address things up front. And even if there are questions later, you can say, well, as per this conversation or as per this email I sent you, just so you have it in writing.
The paper trail. Oh my God, yes. Been a lifesaver a million times.
Yeah.
So the question is this: how do most agents succeed in today's competitive real estate market when all the successful agents are keeping the secrets to themselves? So that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. I interview agents from all over the world. I ask them their tactics, and they share all of their secrets with me so we can give them to the world. I'm Aaron Amuchastegui, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. Aaron here with a quick commercial break. But hey, you've got to listen to this one. This one has a really, really short time offer on it. I tell you what, my friend Trevor Mock of Carrot is cooking up something super, super cool. Carrot Summit is coming up July 12th. It's a one-day virtual event for investors and agents who want to learn how to generate highly motivated, consistent leads online and how to grow and lead a team. The sessions will range from tactical breakouts on today's most effective marketing strategies like SEO, Google, AI, ChatGPT for lead gen, also to leadership topics like how 8-figure CEOs delegate. Trevor is an expert at that. If you follow him on social media, you'll see he shares so much about how he delegates and grows his huge businesses. How to avoid burnout as an entrepreneur, how to scale your team. They're going to have a wide range of experts that also come on and talk: 8-figure investors and agents, best-selling authors, industry coaches. I mean, you name it. If there's an event out there, he's doing it. But one of my favorite sessions is where you're going to learn how to train your team to profit from every single lead as a hybrid investor agent. Carrot's been the authority on inbound lead generation in our industry for nearly 10 years. Trevor's team and business is one that I myself want to learn how to emulate. So join us on the summit to learn how you can build a business of freedom and impact. Go to carrot.com/rockstar for our link, or go to the show notes to grab your spot for free. All right, back to your podcast.
All right. Welcome back to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. I am Shelby Johnson, and I'm here with Elliot Hoyt. And today we are hijacking the podcast. Just kidding. Aaron knows we're here. But Ellie and I are bros from the Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind, going back since year one. So I'm really excited about that. But this show is not about us. Welcome, Cheyenne McGriff in the house. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, Shelby and Elliot. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Dude, for sure. And I was just going to hit some quick stats before we jump in. So Cheyenne, you are one of the 2023 National Association of Realtors 30 Under 30 awardees from Rapid City, South Carolina, closed 36 last year and 9.4 million in volume.
Wait, I feel South Dakota, Shelby.
Yeah.
South Dakota, a little bit.
South Carolina.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, it's all right. It's cool. It's close enough. It was a South. It was one of the Souths.
Very different, but yeah. But dude, enough about me. So Cheyenne, do you want to tell us about how you got into real estate? Take us back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I live in South Dakota, a very much colder state than South Carolina, I believe. But I started in real estate in 2018 is when I got my license, and I really got started working in August of 2018. I work on a team. There are 3 of us. It includes my grandma and grandpa and myself. So it's just the 3 of us on our team. My grandma has been in real estate since the 70s. She's amazing. She was actually one of the first 5 female real estate agents in Rapid City and the first in the female in the RE/MAX office in Rapid City. So she's an amazing mentor to have and someone I'm very grateful that has helped me get into the business. So that's how I got my start. I went to college, and at first I didn't think I wanted to go into real estate, and I wanted to try a couple of things first. My grandma always was encouraging me to get my license, though, in the background. And then I worked for our community, our small community in economic development for about 3 years. And that's when I decided I wanted to jump into real estate.
Love it. I love that it's a family business too. You know, a lot of people are like worried about working with family, but just from the way that you're talking about it, I can tell that you love them and that it's working out really beautifully. And before we hit record, you were telling us a little bit about a story that happened to you after your first year, kind of into your second. Will you hit us with what happened with your family?
Okay. So in about early 2020, the end of 2019 into early 2020, my husband had a roofing and siding contracting business for about 4 years before then. And he had been, working really hard, and he fell off of a roof and was injured pretty badly, but he's extremely tough and worked through it for a few months, and it just continued to get worse. So he wasn't able to work for a while, but kind of within all that time, we became pregnant with our daughter. And so that was also right when all the COVID shutdowns were happening. So it was just a really, interesting time, I would say, for our family. And I was so grateful for real estate in that time for multiple reasons. The first was during COVID here, we were shut down for about 2 weeks like everyone else, but then things got really out of hand with our market. Things were moving really quickly. People were moving here from all over the place. So it was just extremely busy for us. We had to do things differently, of course, with open houses, showings like everyone else did. But I was grateful for that, because when it first happened and my husband was hurt and I was pregnant, I got really scared because I thought, what are we going to do if I can't sell houses? I mean, it was so scary. But throughout all the time my husband was hurt, being in real estate was able to allow me to not only provide for my family, but travel with him to all of his procedures and be there for my daughter at the same time. And we do live around a lot of family. It's why I chose to live in my little town of 800 people, because we have a village to help us out. So it was a trying time. He did have surgery in last fall, and he is improving now. So we can only go up from here.
Cheyenne, what's going through your head at this time then? You've been in the business for 2 years at this point, right? 2018 to 2022. So 2020, and your husband gets injured and you're like kind of the breadwinner, I'm guessing, at that point. What's going through your head? Did you have to flip a switch to kind of make this happen, or did you kind of just keep going the way you were going and things worked out?
I would say that there really wasn't a lot of space to think about, a way to move forward. There was just that I had to keep moving. I was pregnant. I had to, take care of the little baby I was growing. Also, I had to just focus on doing what I could for my family. So it was really just keep moving, stay positive, make sure my husband gets better, whatever we need to do. Family was the priority, but the flexibility and opportunity that real estate provided me at that time was kind of our saving grace.
And during this time, so when that happened, did you already have like a steady booming business, or was at this point in time where you started like going hard on like lead gen or did your leads come from grandma? Like, what did that look like in your business?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I would say that So in 2018, when I very first started, I had one transaction, and it was my husband's grandma and the individual who took my old job. So that was awesome, but that was my only transaction then. And in 2019, I had increased, but I was at about 15 transactions in 2019. So nothing, I mean, it was great. I'm so grateful for that start I had in my business, but it wasn't anything too busy yet. So in 2020, I did end the year with I had 32 transactions and 12 were both buyer and seller. So it was a really busy year. And I think a lot of it was from my sphere and referrals from people I had helped in the past. So as far as lead gen, I'm not great at that. I really just work my sphere as much as I can and reach out to those, especially in that time frame where interest rates were low. And I had so many of my friends, family, past clients that were looking to buy. It was a great time for them, and figured out a lot of ways by working the market so often to help my buyers win. So that was a really helpful way to increase my sales at that time. And just, yeah, like I said, lead gen, I'm not that great at. I just work my sphere as much as possible.
I'm convinced if an agent can find a comprehensive book to write about lead generation, they will become multi-billionaires, because everyone I speak to, no matter how good they are at their job, everyone's got an idea of what they do, but they haven't quite put it together. So maybe we should get together and write a book on that. We can figure it out.
Right. And every once in a while we get these little gems from the real estate gods that send us just some random client, and then they become a fabulous client. So that, we get those every once in a while too.
Yeah, the lead gen side of stuff, I feel like it's always changing, right? Like month to month and year to year or week to week. There's trends and things at work, but it changes so quickly that I think honing down on your sphere, like you said, if you hone down on the sphere and just kind of tap through that, the best source of leads tend to be the people that recommend you, right?
Right, absolutely.
I was curious. I think it's really cool that you did 12 dual in 2020. And I know there are agents out there who are actually scared of representing both sides. So how did you come to represent both sides? And I don't know, any obstacles you had to overcome from that?
Yes, that's a really good question. So I live in a small town, like I said. So a few of those were listings that I had in my community. So I always have buyers looking in my little community, and I often get listings here as well because I live and work here. And that's what happened many times. It was a listing I had and I knew a buyer, or they came to me because they knew me, and that worked out. I would say that you want to be very careful if you're helping both the buyer and seller. Anytime you do it, make sure you cover all of your bases. Make sure you explain how it works up front in really detailed information and writing to both sides so they understand. Because the most issues I see come up with helping both the buyer and seller aren't even in the negotiation process. Most of the time it comes up in the home inspection, truly, is when I see the primary issues come up. And it can be difficult to navigate. I have done it several times. I know some people won't touch it, but I just try at all times to be as transparent as I possibly can in every single transaction so that people know what's coming up there. I like to avoid surprises, even though that's nearly impossible in real estate, but as much as I can to make sure each party feels like they know everything going into a transaction that works out that way.
Hey, real estate rock stars, Aaron here with a quick commercial break. But hey, you've got to listen to this one. This one has a really, really short time offer on it. I tell you what, my friend Trevor Mock of Carrot is cooking up something super, super cool. Carrot Summit is coming up July 12th. It's a one-day virtual event for investors and agents who want to learn how to generate highly motivated, consistent leads online and how to grow and lead a team. The sessions will range from tactical breakouts on today's most effective marketing strategies like SEO, Google, AI, ChatGPT for lead gen, also to leadership topics like how 8-figure CEOs delegate. Trevor is an expert at that. If you follow him on social media, you'll see he shares so much about how he delegates and grows his huge businesses. How to avoid burnout as an entrepreneur, how to scale your team. They're going to have a wide range of experts that also come on and talk, 8-figure investors and agents, best-selling authors, industry coaches. I mean, you name it. If there's an event out there, he's doing it. But one of my favorite sessions is where you're going to learn how to train your team to profit from every single lead as a hybrid investor agent. You know, I've talked about that on here. We promote real estate agents and trying to tell people everything they need to do to get more lead gen. But one of my favorite talks at my mastermind last year was these guys that came on and said, hey, if you were only trying to go be a listing agent, then it's like you're working for tips. You've got to be that hybrid investor agent where sometimes you make offers to buy properties at the listing appointment while you're also telling them that you can list it for them. You know, I checked out the lineup and summary. They're going to focus on lead gen, mindset, vision casting, all stuff I talk about on the pod all the time. You know, I'm also a part of an annual mastermind Trevor puts together, and it's always one of my favorites. He definitely knows what he's doing, and him and I even grew up in the same small town in Oregon, so it's extra special to be able to promote this event for him. You know, Carrot's been the authority on inbound lead generation in our industry for nearly 10 years. Trevor's team and business is one that I myself want to learn how to emulate. I mean, he even has a competitive business to one of mine, but he does so well, I have to respect that. So join us on the summit to learn how you can build a business of freedom and impact. Go to carrot.com/rockstar for our link, or go to the show notes to grab your spot for free. All right, back to your podcast.
Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. 12 is crazy. I don't think I've heard 12 on that volume. That's like what, 30 something percent, right? Of 30. So that's a huge percentage looking at it. As long as you're an ethical agent though, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to mess it up as long as you disclose. And I think that's kind of where it goes wrong, right? People don't always disclose what's going on.
Yeah,
but so many people don't understand when they're buying or selling real estate, because we do it every day. They kind of forget, I need to kind of explain the implications of this, and I can't give away too much information.
Right. And I always give them the option up front. If it's a buyer that comes to me, I represent the seller. We can do it this way, but if you want to have another buyer's agent represent you, I absolutely support that, because I want them to feel comfortable.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a super powerful one. Oh, sorry, Shelby.
Oh, no, dude, I'll just fight you. It's fine. No, I was curious about did that change anything on the commission side with the seller, or did you keep it at whatever percentage you had agreed with before?
So when it comes to commission questions, I'll probably just say it's just negotiable between all my clients.
Gotcha.
That's smart.
Diplomatic.
The broker in me was my red light was going woo right away. I was like, careful you answer this. That was perfect. That was awesome.
I love asking those questions though, because, I think about the people who are listening and they're like, oh, I want to do that. But I feel like this is their chance to get the real life examples, but I totally understand the diplomatic side of it as well. So cool.
Yeah, in our MLS, you have to disclose. I think it's national, but you have to disclose variable commission rate. So you have to say, hey, if we represent on our side, we'll reduce that commission. And I will not point any fingers or say any names, but I do know of agents that may or may not have flirted with that line, and I would not touch that personally. You got to be super careful with it. So you have to be transparent and upfront, right?
Yep, that's what we have to put that in our MLS as well. And that's really my biggest thing, is just being open, being transparent with my clients and other agents. That's how you avoid problems, is you address things up front. And even if there are questions later, you can say, well, as per this conversation or as per this email I sent you, just so you have it in writing.
The paper trail. Oh my God. Yes. Been a lifesaver a million times.
Yeah. My grandma's teaching, the helping me out. She has saved me from getting in trouble. I wish everyone had a team like mine, truly, or I wish everyone had a mentor built in like I do, because she has taught me so much invaluable information, as well as kept me out of trouble so many times. I'm like, well, Grandma, why can't I just do this? She's like, because you cannot do that.
Well, speaking of the power of your team, you mentioned before, with your husband's injury and you guys having to travel a lot for medical things. How did that look? Because, so many people get into real estate for the freedom. And then, you're an agent for longer than 2 months and you're like, holy shit, I'm actually really not as free as I thought I was, because I'm on call for the client and it's on their schedules. So how, when you were traveling and going through all this with your family, what did that look like in the business with your team? How did that work?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're amazing, and they would help me anytime I needed. So we had to travel to Colorado a few times for my husband to have procedures completed. And I told them up front, these are the days I'm going to be gone. I have a couple closings coming up. Can you do, could you do the walkthroughs for me? Can you go to the title company for me or pick up sign lockbox, all of those things. And, they're just fabulous. And especially because my husband was still dealing with his injury when I had my daughter, and they were just so awesome because I had buyers looking, or I had closings where I had a week-old baby. I couldn't leave the house in the middle of, she was born in January. And if you know anything about South Dakota, it is cold and snowy and blizzardy here, like several times throughout the winter. So it was difficult for me to leave and handle business transactions or things I needed to do. And they were 100% there for me. And they still are to this day. We have a fantastic working relationship within the three of us. If I need help with something, they help me. If they need help, I help them. But we have we each manage our own clients, but we just help each other out where we can here and there. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. What's the dynamic like having generations there? Because having someone who's been experienced for 50 something years, I guess it was in the 70s. Do you learn from each other? Is it a one-way kind of street where you're learning more than she is? Or does she learn a lot from you, your grandmother, from kind of having that, I guess, new look on things maybe? How does that dynamic work?
Yeah. So I would say 90% of the learning is from her to me, because in this business, there is just so much to learn that you can't learn without going through it. You just truly can't. But I would say that I do help them learn at times, because I think it was just from me being new. But when I first started, it seemed like I received so many strange things that happened to me in a transaction. I thought, what even is this? And I would ask my grandma, she said, where did you find this situation? I said, I don't know. So she would help me work through things. And I get the opportunity to help with some of our marketing and social media and things like that. And the cool thing about real estate is that things change in our market so often. I mean, we can go from a seller's market to a buyer's market fairly quickly within a cycle, and finding new ways to help your client win, whatever side you're on, can transition really so many times. So it's fun to learn from each other, but definitely I learned more from her.
What's the number one thing that you've learned from her? What's the one thing that you're like, I will never forget that?
Well, get everything in writing. Everything in writing. That's what she told me from the start. That would be the number one thing, and be totally transparent.
Yeah, that's a massive piece for anyone that's listening, especially with how fast our industry has probably expanded over since COVID. I mean, everyone was getting their license, right? I don't know what it was like in South Dakota, but at least out here in Boise, everyone's getting their license. And I think that wasn't one thing that was taught as well as it should have been, is exactly that. Just be honest and be transparent. It's crazy how that isn't taught. So that's huge. It's a simple one, right? But it's a massive one, because it can save your butt at the best of times. Obviously, all us three on this podcast right now, I consider us all great ethical agents. So it shouldn't be a problem anyway, but it's all good till it goes wrong, right? The minute you're in court, right, or someone accuses you of something, it's way easier to just pull up an email chain and be like, well, no, actually, that wasn't what I said. I did advise you. It's going to happen at some point in our careers, right? If you're in it long enough, something's going to happen where someone's going to question you, and you need that. That's a huge, massive piece of advice. And I definitely, I'd take that away from this for sure.
Another thing she taught me is that there are bad deals. So you really need to know who you're getting into your real estate relationship with, and ask questions up front, because sometimes people are trying to get into something for wrong reasons. So, and especially if it's someone that, is not treating you well as an agent, there are situations that you can say no to.
Hey listeners, Aaron here. I just want to tell you about something I'm super, super excited about. A couple months ago, I had a bunch of people in my office in Austin, and I taught what I called my foreclosure masterclass. It was to teach investors how to make money with distressed real estate investing through foreclosures and other sorts of leads that are out there of people that are desperate to sell or need to sell, and maybe they don't even know it yet. and that process. Well, we had so much fun when everyone came to the office. So many people said they wanted to do it again. I recorded the class. It's now live and available for purchase. So if you're interested in learning about becoming an investor and learning about becoming an investor agent, being able to educate yourself some more around foreclosures, about distressed real estate, and how to get those, go to theforeclosuremasterclass.com. theforeclosuremasterclass.com. All right, back to the podcast.
Yeah, not all business is good business. That's something I picked up from a lender friend of mine. He mentioned not all business is good business. I think we, especially in the beginning, right, in the early stages as in your career, you're so eager to get a deal done and to help someone. But it's not, I don't know about you guys, but it's not worth the mental state sometimes, right? When you have to go through the anguish and be mistreated. There's so many people out there that would value us as agents. It's almost not worth getting into it with some people sometimes, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Totally agree. There's also like the flip side of that is like in the beginning when you have no experience and you just want someone to work with. Those bad clients, I'm telling you, you learn more from them than anyone else. You learn what to do, what not to do, and you get those red flags from the conversations, from the body language, from, how they think, and it helps teach you the type of people that you want to work with in the future. So they suck, but they're great.
100%.
I'm curious about the structure in your team. Do you guys have like a division of labor, or is it more of like multiple agents working together to just help each other? Or is there like a split of roles?
No. So when I first started, I was in learning mode, of course. So I was following my grandma and grandpa, to showings, to listing appointments as much as I could to soak up everything that I could, because real estate classes, as you know, they don't really show you how to be a practical agent. There are so many things to learn about forms and, how to communicate with your client and how to do a proper listing presentation, etc. So I took in a lot of learning at first, but when I started to get some of my own clients from my sphere, we really ended up working we work together, but separately at the same time. So I have my list of clients, and sometimes if my grandma doesn't have time to work with one of hers, she'll send them over to me, but she works with her clients and I work with mine, but we share information and help each other when we can. So if I need to go handle a showing for her, I absolutely will, and things like that. But it's like together, but separate at the same time. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Yes. Thank you. And do you guys all do your contract to close piece, or do you have like a transaction coordinator that you share?
Yes, we are contract to close. It's just the three of us. And that's one thing that I tell my clients too, is when you work with me, you work with our team, there are three of us. When you call with a question, you talk to me. If I am out of town, you will talk to one of them. But it's something that's important to me. I'm not saying there's anything at all wrong with people that have, several people on their team or coordinators. I think that's great. But for us personally, we like the way that our team works, and our clients seem to like that they know exactly who they're going to be talking to throughout the process, and they won't be handed off to someone else once they sign a listing.
Totally. Makes sense. And you mentioned earlier, and also Elliot, do you have any questions? Because I could just.
I mean, I can take it in a slightly different direction. I don't know if it's too early for it, but I was going to ask you. So this is the way you're structured right now. There's the three of you. Mm-hmm. What are the long-term kind of aspirations? Do you have visions of a bigger team? Are you happy just serving clients day to day? What does the future look like for you and your team and your kind of career here?
Yeah. So right now I am extremely happy with our team. I feel very lucky that I got to work at a RE/MAX office, my very first office, because, they don't always take brand new agents. So I feel lucky to be in my office and with my team. I am guessing my grandparents are going to work as long as they want to, which could be a while. That'd be amazing if they want to stay for a long time. But I could see in the future, if I had a team, I would have a small team. And because of my location, I live an hour away from Rapid City. So if you have any, I don't know if you know much about our area, but we're very rural. And so I live a 45-minute drive from my actual office. So I would love one day to have a buyer's agent that can take a showing for me short notice, because if I have a buyer, they need to see a house that could go under contract quickly. I mean, that's a 3-hour situation for me. I can't just pop down and show a house real quick.
Damn.
So that's what I would like, to at least have a buyer's agent in the future, and just keep taking really good care of my clients.
That's awesome. That's not a bad goal, taking care of people. Sometimes it gets lost in the wash. I think in our industry, we talk a lot about growth and scaling, right? But we don't always talk about doing things the right way. And if you take care of people, naturally things tend to grow anyway, right?
Right. And that's such a big thing about real estate, is you're right. We hear so much about growing big teams. Like I said, nothing at all wrong with that. But, like you said, growth and big teams, etc. But these are human beings that we're helping, that are going through most likely the biggest financial investment or transaction of their entire lives. And they care about us caring about them and making sure that we're advising them. We are taking them through the process to the best of our knowledge and ability. And they want to know that we are worried about that person in front of us sitting at the listing appointment. And, that's what's always so important to me, is that my clients have become my friends pretty darn often, just because of the relationships that we build.
Dude. And you mentioned listening. I love how you're not, getting caught up in the must scale, must grow, like all of that, extreme stuff. But before we hit record on this, you were telling about, how you got into real estate. Can you share that story about Real Estate Rockstars?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely will. So I remember actually very clearly when I was listening to one of the episodes I listened to very first. I don't remember what it was, but I was, my husband and I at the time were living in a single wide trailer in a pasture on my dad's ranch. It's because there was no place for us to live in our little town. There are no houses for us to move into. And we were just getting started in our career. So, we didn't really have much. And I was vacuuming my single wide, listening to an episode of Real Estate Rockstars. And I thought, man, this is amazing. I really think that I should follow my grandmother's encouragement and go into real estate. And I also listened to episodes with individuals that had become 30 under 30 honorees. And as soon as I started real estate, that was on my, my vision board, something that I truly never thought I could achieve, because here I am. I am on a small team. I don't own my own brokerage. I have, I think, 800 followers on Instagram, maybe not even 800. And I live in a town of 800 people. So how could I ever compete with these agents in big cities and 10,000 followers? I mean, these people own their brokerages. How can I ever compete? And I was so amazed, truly, and honored to be on that list this year.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. We only have a few minutes left in this episode, but before we get to the grand finale, I just wanted to say, as always, thank you for listening. Podcasts are obviously free. You don't have to pay to listen to the podcast, but if you could pay one thing, if I could charge you one thing to listen to this podcast, what I would ask you to do is go, please, make a review. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's on YouTube or on Apple or Android, wherever you listen to podcasts, and go give me a review of the podcast. I read them, I listen to them, I try to make adjustments. A couple years ago, I had a ton of bad reviews on the sound quality or the number of advertisements, things like that. And I've really tried to dial in to add value for all of you guys. So please go do a review. If you want to get a copy of the toolbox of the stuff that everybody that comes on the show, they give us some tactics. They give us something that we put in what we call our toolbox. And so to get that, you go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com. When you get there, click on the toolbox and you get access to the free gift that every person that we interview on the episode provides. There's things like, listing tactics, how to do a presentation, how to do a newsletter, all sorts of cool, fun stuff. And if you want to talk to me, go find me on Instagram at Aaron Amuchastegui. Ask me a question. I talk to so many of you guys on there. All right, back to the show. Thanks again for being a listener.
There's two things I have to hit here. Firstly, congratulations. We'll get into that. But so for those of you who don't know, the 30 Under 30 award is pretty much the biggest honor you can get as a young realtor from the National Association of Realtors. So I forget what the verbatim is. It's for volume. Is one part of it, but a lot of it's community involvement, career progression, all kinds of different things. Because the highest honor you can get. So congrats for that. I also got that in 2020, and just like you, I had it on my vision board too. And I remember I was driving Uber back in 2019 for part of 2019. So you were probably in a single wide, and I was in an Uber at one point together. We both had aspirations that I put on a dream board. So that's awesome. It shows you that anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Right? You just gotta say you're going to do it and commit to it. So that's awesome. Congrats on that. That's a huge one for those of you listening. 30 Under 30 is a really, really prestigious award. So congrats. And second thing I was going to say, you were the most recent one. So forget about me. I'm getting old now. I'm above 30. I can't even use 30 Under 30 anymore because I'm too old. They're like, you already look 50. So yeah, I'm ancient. I'm dusty. If you cut me, the dust will run out my veins. And then the second point, good thing Aaron's not here because he always gets choked up when he hears stories about people that were listeners that then ended up coming on the show. When we were at the mastermind in Austin just back in March, I was on stage with him and he got choked up again because one of our attendees said, "Hey, I was going through a tough time. I was delivering packages. And I was listening to Real Estate Rockstars and I always wanted to be on the show one day or come to the event, to the mastermind, and they did. So good thing Aaron's not here. If he's listening, he's choked up right now because he always loves to hear the
crying, sobbing, snot everywhere,
uncontrollably. Now, he might shed a tear once in a while, but that's awesome. Yeah, it's so surreal to be here with someone else that listened to it as well and was like, that would be awesome one day. It's a crazy community we're building here.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. Like I said, it's really a pinch me moment.
That's it. Okay. And so pinch me moment in the present. But let's say looking back, what advice would you give a rookie or yourself if you were getting into real estate, knowing what you know now?
Number one, for a rookie, I would absolutely say get a mentor. Make sure you have a mentor to guide you through starting the business, to help keep you out of trouble, and to really teach you how to be an effective agent. And number two advice, I would say don't get distracted by shiny objects. In real estate, people love real estate, right? People love to post about real estate. People love to talk about real estate. And there is so much information online. So many people trying to tell you to hire this company to help you, or hire or do this kind of posting on Instagram. Or we are flooded. I don't know if you guys see this, but I do. Flooded with all the things that I should be doing for my business that I'm clearly doing terrible if I'm not doing all of these things, right? But I would just say don't get distracted by shiny objects. Find something that works for you and continue to work it and stay consistent. And that's still something that I constantly struggle with. If I see someone that I think is, just doing so amazing, doing something on social media, I think, well, I better start doing exactly what they're doing instead of just sticking with what works for me.
That's a great point. Yeah, you got to stay off social media sometimes as far as what you consume. There's so many agents out there. I don't know about you guys, Cheyenne, in your market. I see agents out here that post how well they're doing, but then when you look at the numbers on the back end, there's like, I don't know if you're telling quite the true story. Yeah, you got to stick consistent and not let the noise and the shiny things affect you sometimes.
Absolutely.
Cool. Love it. You had so many good nuggets today. We got, starting from the talk, we had get everything in writing. Love that one. Clear communication, understanding that there are bad deals out there, and a great one was that the finding a mentor and don't getting distracted. Holy shit, man. And don't get distracted by shiny objects. Actually, learning how to speak also. Add that to the list for me. But okay. Is there anything that you would to cover or to talk about that we didn't get a chance to do today?
I would just say a couple of things that have really helped me learn in the business were getting in and doing things myself. The first house that my husband and I purchased together was a project house. It was a flip house that we bought. We fixed up ourselves with the help of a lot of his family and my family. And we lived in it for a little bit and then turned it into a rental and then decided to buy our current home. And we're currently working on buying another project house. And when I first started in real estate, I didn't own a house yet. And I felt so weird sometimes. I thought, how can I tell them what to do? I haven't done it yet. So as soon as I got the opportunity, we purchased a house. And that helped me learn so much, both as a real estate agent, but also as an investor, to help guide on both sides of the fence, either people looking to buy for the first time or move up, or help someone that's looking to invest, because we have done the hands-on experience.
Dude, I totally agree with that. And that is one of my favorite pieces of advice. And personally, so I was an investor before I got my license as an agent. And there are just so many times that you just feel so much more confident that you're telling people the right advice and right information because you've lived it. You've experienced it. You know exactly what it is, not from a textbook, not because someone told you it was that way, but because you've lived it. So I think that's freaking awesome. So you flipped the first house. You're working on your second. Is that right? What does the investing future look like for you?
My husband and I are really excited to continue moving forward with investing. So this next one we're doing is going to be a flip, but I would like to expand our rental portfolio. Additionally, in my small town, we're hoping to potentially help some builders get some spec houses built here because we don't have much for housing. So getting that done would be huge. And I would love to own a short-term rental, but we are starting to see our communities put more rules and regulations on short-term rentals. So getting into that sooner than later would be best.
Before we go anywhere, if someone wants to get hold of you, what is the best platform or way to do it? Because I'm sure someone one day is going to need something in South Dakota. How do we stay in contact with you?
I would say the number one way to reach me would be on Instagram. My handle, it's at Cheyenne Summer 605. 605, we have only one area code in all of South Dakota. So Cheyenne Summer 605. That's the number one place you can find me.
I'm adding you right now. I'm going to give you a follow. So if I get a follow, that'd be awesome.
Dude, I followed you right before this. I was like, stock, who is it? So we're friends.
800, maybe I'll finally get to 800 followers now. I think I'm at 780 something. So here we go.
Dude, after this podcast, you're on 20,000 more.
Oh boy.
You get that blue tick before the end of the week. Watch.
Damn right. And if you're out there listening and want to hang out with Elliot or I, you can find Elliot on Instagram at Elliot_Hoyt. And I am the Shelby Show on the gram. Please message all of us. Hang out with us. We want to hear from you. And if you don't already follow Real Estate Rockstars, shame. Do that right now. But otherwise, that is it for today. So Cheyenne, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You're freaking awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to make sure everybody knows I couldn't do anything without my family. So I'm just so grateful for everyone that makes it possible for me to do what I do.
And she's humble.
And she's humble, of course. Well, Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.